Yo, what's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Crispy. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. I heard last night Tony Snell hit a game winner, guys, on Stanley Johnson, right, man? But that's not today's video. I just had to point that out. I just find it, I don't know why I find it just... Tony Snell's damn leading the NBA in three-point percent, shooting like damn like 60%. And Stanley Johnson's leading the NBA in bitch-assness, man. He's shooting 100%. Once again, nothing about what this video is about. This video is titled, Shaq and Charles Barkley, Heated Argument Over Chris Paul MVP Case. So, I don't know who was on whose side, but I saw the title to this, and I was like, you know what, man? I have an opinion on this, guys. Chris Paul this season is averaging 16 points, 9 assists, and about 5 rebounds per game. The Phoenix Suns are in second place. I respect the hell out of what Chris Paul is doing this year, especially at this age. I think it goes back to show his value, you know, how he was last year with the OKC Thunder getting into the playoffs, although that team's still playing pretty damn good this season, all things considered. I thought they were going to be the worst team in the NBA. And obviously now the Phoenix Suns are second in the Western Conference at making this video. With that being said, while I understand Chris Paul is one of the most valuable players in the NBA, I don't think Chris Paul is the MVP of the NBA. I think if you took Chris Paul off of the Phoenix Suns, no, they would not be second place. But I think we can look at last year in the bubble when they went at 8-0. We look at the progression of, you know, Mikal Bridges, you know, players like that. They would still be in the playoff hunt. They would still be a really good team, man. I love Chris Paul. It's just like, I think sometimes people don't understand the value of the MVP award. Like, just like what it really means, man. Like, the most valuable player. Like, I mean, I nothing against, like, Giannis losing it or winning it the past 2 seasons. Like, if you took Giannis off the Bucks, that team would be probably a lottery team. You can look at James Harden on the, you know, when he was on the Houston Rockets, that team was always in the hunt for a top seed in the Western Conference. Took them off. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA now, man. You know, you take LeBron or Anthony Davis off the Lakers. You know, they're in a bad place. So, I'm curious what they say about this. I don't really know how it could be a heated argument, man. But here we go. Let's check it out and see why.
7 when they trail going to the fourth quarter. This team is...
By the way, it's not disrespect to Chris Paul. I hope Phoenix Suns fans can realize that in their mind. Where, like, you can say somebody is not the MVP and not feel disrespected about it. I guess is what I'm trying to get at, man. Like, I'm not I 100% respect what you guys are doing.
This team is for real, Shaq.
They are for real.
Listen, Chris Paul is having a great year.
Yep.
He does have the youngsters playing. He's leading them very well. They're playing well. Devin Booker is starting to get his form back. But I disagree. He should not be mentioned for MVP. He's having a good year. I don't think he should be mentioned because if you don't have a chance to win, you shouldn't be mentioned.
What do you mean you don't have a chance to win?
You don't have a chance to win MVP. Stop it.
I agree with that.
Well, that's not true.
He does not have a chance to win.
Well, you know what? Your comment is making people hate.
Yes, he does not have a chance to win.
Because if you say that he doesn't have a chance, he's not an MVP candidate, now it seems like you're hating. But he's having a great year.
And the team is having a great year.
I said he's having a great year.
But you're talking about...
Jeremy Grant's having a great year. He don't got a chance to win MVP. I mean, then again, the Pistons aren't the second seed in the Eastern Conference, but... Yeah, okay.
With the Joker and what
with Embiid, come on.
I mean,
LeBron,
They got a better record than those guys you mentioned.
But they just had a guy on his but the Joker
then why wasn't Donovan Mitchell starting in the All-Star game? We want to talk about record, right?
guys that on multiple nights going to get 30.
You were just sitting here bragging all last year about my boy Jamal Murray in the bubble.
No, I'm
about
saying that Chris Paul is having a great year.
Yep.
But you're making us feel like we're hating if we don't,
Thank you.
We don't feel like he's... Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a difference between
I don't
great
understand.
and MVP.
If a guy traded for a guy on the last place team, and
They weren't last place last.
They did not even make the playoffs last year.
8-0 in the bubble.
Last place.
Well, they didn't make the playoffs. They were awful.
And then they
last
went
year.
8-0 in the bubble.
But
Yep.
that don't matter. They still didn't make the playoffs.
Okay.
And if a team made a trade in the offseason and they went from last place to first place, why would we not mention that guy for MVP?
That wasn't
That's
the
a
case.
very fair question.
I think that he
just answer the question.
I think that he's a key.
The Suns last year were a team on the up and coming, which is what we saw in the bubble. Chris Paul got them to that next level. Extremely valuable player. Extremely valuable player. But the Suns this season they would have been good either way. I don't think they would have been as good, obviously, but they would have been a good team either way. So, yeah, okay.
Ingredient. But an MVP would, just to me, and now you feel like we're hating, but an MVP would mean that he is so dominant by himself.
No, that's not what the
And B,
It ain't got nothing to do with team. Stop it.
Of course it got something to do with team.
His dominance.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Outweighs the team.
Okay, that's all. What is he doing different than what Steve Nash did?
Steve Nash.
That's a good question.
As a matter of fact, as Underdog
That's a
points
great
out,
question.
Steve Nash was averaging fewer points per game than Chris Paul was.
Different era, different pace of game in the NBA back then. I mean, a lot of people will argue against some of Steve Nash MVP awards. A lot of people say that he didn't deserve some of them. I will say that we, as a basketball nation, under the basketball gods, man, that we, the way we view the MVP award is not within the name. And I will say, when Steve Nash won it, that was and should have been what the definition of most valuable player is. Value. Like you make everybody around you better, right? I've been an advocate since I started YouTube to switch to MTP, man, the most talented player. Because that's really what it is. The year that Russell Westbrook got when he was averaging triple doubles, he was the most talented player that season. But not only that, you don't only have the talent aspect to it, but you also have the storyline. Because Russell averaged the triple double, it was a nice story. Nobody's done it since Oscar Robertson did it. And yeah, man. But the next year he averaged triple double, and he wasn't even mentioned because it was no longer a good story. So it's not really about value; it's about talent, but also how that talent correlates with a good, a feel good story out there, right, man? So, okay.
I just thought about that on my feet. What's the difference?
Well, now you're going to get Shaq on your side.
No, but Shaq, first of all, Shaq said the team. Shaq has just said.
Yeah, because they said Kobe should have won it that year, right?
He said a team doesn't
2008
matter.
or something, wasn't it?
The team does matter.
The team matters.
And my only point is, we talk about all these other guys who are playing great. I'm not going to hate on the Joker. I'm not going to hate on Embiid. I'm not going to hate on LeBron.
But you think he's doing the same things that?
Yeah, but if you got two guys.
Yes, I think he did.
Yeah, but
Okay.
if
I'm not
you got
gonna
you got two guys, for example, Joel Embiid and the Joker, that are putting up great numbers. You can't say, okay, because this guy has a better record, he should get the MVP. No.
Why can't you?
I will say that.
I agree with that.
I understand.
Shaq, when Steve Nash won MVP, he wasn't better than you. He wasn't better than Kobe, but they had a better regular season. And all I'm saying is, hey, I told you.
I think the Steve Nash is still a bad example because I think there's a lot of back and forth arguments on that one, where that is like a year where people did not agree with him winning it. So
should be
you
in
know
the
what?
conversation.
So you know
He
what?
should be in the conversation.
Okay.
In the conversation.
And let me tell you something.
Change the award to most valuable team, then don't say most valuable player.
No.
Most valuable player is singular.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Player is singular.
No, it's not singular.
Player is singular.
No, it's not.
Player is singular. Player is plural. Stop it. Stop it.
But one
Player
of the
is singular.
definitions is most valuable to his team. Okay?
What's that?
Most valuable to his team.
Well, I say most valuable players, most valuable players.
Okay, most valuable to his team, but that has nothing to do with the
But
record.
that is also a factor. Most valuable. You look at a team's success and who's the most valuable.
Well, because this is why I hate this stupid argument every year. It's not who the best player. Listen, Michael Jordan was the best player probably 3 years before he even got in the MVP conversation.
sure.
Because his team wasn't any good. So he was already the best player at least 3 years, if I remember correctly. And listen, I ain't never gonna hate on Steve Nash,
But yeah, I mean, if we're being that's why it's so story driven. You not only have to be extremely talented and valuable to your team, but you also have the best story, man. That's like you say the same thing about LeBron, and we always say LeBron's number one player in the NBA. So why does he win the MVP every single season, right?
he wasn't better than Shaq and Kobe, but they had a better regular
We
season.
agree. However,
Change it to most
I
valuable
always
team,
feel that your team success.
It's never a
and
single
your
formula for the
dominance
MVP
in
award.
Areas. Okay, Steve Nash was an anomaly.
Yes.
It's not normal.
What about Derrick Rose?
Derrick Rose was dominating the NBA. Derrick Rose dominated.
Derrick Rose is the definition of the great story. What was it, like his second or third season, youngest MVP ever? That season, you totally could still make a case for LeBron winning it. But LeBron was like, he's won a few already. It's like, okay, it's like, no, it's like what? I guess age maybe become a factor at some point too, because at this point it's like with because like last year or not last year, yeah, it was last year. At the beginning of the season, people were talking about Luka Doncic winning because he would have been the youngest ever. But that was only part of it too. So And, of course, shutdown happened, and that just really made things. And I think he got injured, too, and stuff. But, yeah.
He was the best player for sure. He was not only the MVP.
That's
he
what
was
I
the
always
best
thought
player
it meant.
to
The
me.
best player in the league.
It's not the best player in the league.
I said that's what I
It's
always
never
thought.
been the best player
To
in the
me,
league.
Derrick Rose.
I wouldn't say never.
No,
Also
I'm saying
the
it's
best
never
player
been the
in
best. When Magic and Bird were going back and forth, it's whoever had the best regular season. It wasn't who had the best, who was the best player.
Steve Nash, I would say the best year.
Well, even with that, I think it is like a combination of factors too, where it is like, okay, like if you have two players that are so close, stat-wise, dominating stat-wise, then I do think people use the record and the storyline as a differentiator, which is why I think it's stats first, story second, story usually correlates with the stats, and then third is record. Now, if the stats are close, I think you go back to the LeBron James, Derrick Rose argument right there, where their stats, LeBron had the better stats, but not by a lot. But Derrick Rose had the way better story that season. And I think I think the Bulls were the first seed that year too, if I'm correct. They had like 50+ wins.
Seeing Chris Paul have at this late in his career, he deserves to be later in the conversation. But the conversation to me is Joel Embiid and Joker.
Listen, if the Phoenix Suns finish with
And
the
Dame.
best, if they finish with the best
And
record,
LeBron.
All right, guys, that's the end of that video right there, man. So yeah, I really think when it comes down to it too, okay, sure, you could say Chris Paul's in the conversation, but even at that point, it's redundant because it usually just comes down to two finalists anyway. Like there's two players, like Harden and Giannis, LeBron, Derrick Rose, or whoever else you want to say. It's usually an argument between those guys. And then you get to that third, fourth, or fifth option. It's like, okay, yeah, like I see what you're doing out there, but you're not the finalist right there. So for me, this argument should be, is Chris Paul the MVP? I do not think he is. Should he be in the conversation? If you want to redundantly put him as like that third, fourth, or fifth guy, sure, I guess you can, but it doesn't really matter. So that's all we got for this video, man. Give me your thoughts and comments on this in the comments section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and peace out, guys.